muy malo. Roto el pato de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Welcome to Siempre Positivo as Barcelona open up daylight at the top of La Liga, winning 4-0 against Real Sociedad after Real Madrid had slipped up at Real Betis a day earlier. I'm Sam Marsden, joined by Rik Sharma and Tony Juan Martín. Rik, how you doing?
Tired out from writing previews for Champions League. I had to do one for Atletico, I had to do one for Barça, I had to do one for Real Madrid, and I always find it quite hard to write the previews because it's my least favourite type of article because you're making up stuff about something that's not happened. I much prefer post-game articles when you're writing about something that has happened.
Poor Rik, we really feel for you having to write all these Champions League previews. What a poor person you are.
No, but even, I mean, it's not that I'm the richest person in the world, but even the richest person in the world can have days when they're unhappy with their situation.
Tony, ¿qué tal?
¿Qué tal? Good afternoon. Everything's fine. Looking forward to have strong emotions this week. Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting to see which one of you mentioned the weather, and neither of you did.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, not really the best weather. Yes.
Horrible weather in Barcelona. March is the new February. Absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the real problem. Maybe it's not the previews at all. It's the weather.
Yeah, it's the weather that's getting you down. Right. La Liga for now, because it's the start of a big week in the Champions League, but Barcelona were in action on Sunday. They had the chance to open up a gap at the top of La Liga after moving back to the top in recent weeks. They were handed a golden opportunity after Real Madrid were beaten 2-1 at Real Betis on Saturday. Atletico did win, beating Athletic Club 1-0, which meant a win for Barca would take them 1 point clear of Atletico and 3 clear of Real Madrid, and they did not miss their task made easier against the Real Sociedad team, who already came into the game missing key players through injury when Aritz Elizondo was sent off in the 17th minute. I just want to have a quick word there as well for Imanol after the game, because it was only last week that I was moaning about managers and players not really to do with our job, but they could do themselves a favour by admitting or acknowledging when decisions were fairly made. And there was a little bit of sort of debate, I noticed, perhaps in my echo chamber of the Discord and
Echo
on
chamber.
Social media and whatnot. Echo chamber.
Eco chamber. Very, very green friendly chamber.
Yeah. I'm very green friendly. Suggesting that perhaps it was a little bit harsh, the red card Elizondo got for pulling Dani Olmo down when he was clearly last man, and Imanol came out and said, look, it's a clear red card. So I'm always going to shout out a manager when they admit their decision was very clear. Even if it is clear, we're in such a world, especially in Spanish football, where we're gaslit by coaches and managers and the media. That shout out for Imanol for that. But it completely changed the game if it wasn't going to head that way anyway. And once Barca opened the scoring through Gerard Martín, his first goal for the club, coming in at left back for Alejandro Balde, it was one-way traffic. Marc Casadó joining the first goal club, making it 2-0, and then second half goals from Ronald Araújo and Robert Lewandowski, making it 4-0 at the end of the game, as Barcelona, as I said, moved 1 point clear of Atletico, 3 clear of Real Madrid, and restricted 10-man Real Sociedad to 0 shots on goal, a 0.0 XG. Rik, a Sunday stroll for Barca.
Yeah, it's another one of those games which we've talked about sometimes where the game gets conditioned so early by the red card for Elizondo. Because actually in the first few minutes, as Imanol said after the game as well, his team did start well. They were pressing well. They had that goal ruled out for offside. They had a shot off the bar, which was also offside. So, I mean, ultimately these shots didn't exist. If you look at the stats, they ended up with 0 shots on goal.
For the record, that one off the bar, I mean, the one that they had disallowed was, you can understand in these new rules why they let it play on, even though there was definitely one clear offside, possibly 2. But you can understand why they let that one play on. I think in, the pre-VAR, pre-linesman not putting up the flags era, the flag goes up for that one as well. But the second one was a disgrace, the linesman letting that play on when they hit the bar. Like, there was literally probably... It wasn't even... No part of the forward's body was touching the defender's body, like in terms of the offside. It's clearly miles offside and they let it go on. Anyway,
I decided not to even include that in my match report, that one that hit the bar, because it was just too much of a non-possibility that it could have been a onside.
It really wound me up at the time, really wound me up.
Barca had 33 shots, Real Sociedad had no shots. I mean, that's the kind of game it was, so you don't want to go crazy reading too much into it, other than Barca did a very, very professional job. And got good minutes for players that don't often play. Everyone leaves happy. Players like Casadó, who hadn't been starting lately, he had a good game. So yeah, good job.
Yeah, good job for Gerard Martín and Casadó, like you said, both getting their first goals. There was second half rest for players ahead of Benfica as well, in terms of Rafinha coming off, Pedri coming off as well, getting some rest ahead of that big game. Tony, your thoughts on a comfortable win for Barca, on a perfect afternoon really ahead of this big Benfica game on Wednesday?
No, I mean, I think there's no big story that we can make. No, once you receive a red card and against a team which is with full energy, you are dead. No, so we can ask ourselves what would have happened with the Barça of Xavi with one player extra. But right now, the way that Barça of Hansi Flick is playing, bringing you to the limit in terms of intensity, playing really well in terms of rhythm, you cannot resist, no? And then if you are clinical that early to score the first goal, you don't give even any hope to the opponent, which it was not an opponent used to defend as they did. No, maybe others like Getafe or other team could resist a little bit more with 10 men, but nothing. It's easy, great Sunday in terms of Hansi Flick could give minutes to those players that are not playing normally, Hector Ford, also to Fermin, changed some things, 2 minutes for Ferran, so it was great. And you could give a rest to Pedri, to Rafinha, so easy and perfect Sunday. I wouldn't take big conclusions of this game, to be honest.
No, not big conclusions. I guess not so much Casadó, because we know what he's capable of, and his not playing so much recently is more to do with, as Flick explained, I don't know if it was before this game or before a game we spoke about before, just the slight style difference between him and Frenkie de Jong and what he's looking for and what he's not looking for in determined games. But just in terms of Gerard Martin, not just because he scored, but because he started, because he played 90 minutes, I don't know, just to update our analysis on him, I guess, I've certainly been quite sort of unfair on him, and my opinion hasn't changed too much. Perhaps I would say he's gone slightly up in my esteem. I mean, you still wouldn't trust him at all in a big game. Rick, have we learned anything new about Gerard Martin from this 90 minutes? If anything, perhaps just slightly more confidence for him in terms of getting that goal, getting the 90 minutes in the team that won a game comfortably.
Yeah, exactly. Just a decent, solid performance to give him a bit of confidence. And I seem to remember, I can't remember the exact occasion it was where he made a bad mistake, and then in the next game, Flick started him anyway. And I quite liked that at the time, because I thought, yeah, you do want to use him then, because you don't want to just sort of castigate him, or that's a very Spanishism, isn't it? Castigo. You don't want to punish him for what he did and bin him off, and then need him at some point if Balde gets injured, and not have to have him in sort of any condition to play or any confidence to play. So yeah, nice for him to play 90 minutes, raise his confidence, score a nice goal. And I mean, Flick said after the game he has put pressure on Balde. I'm not convinced that's the case in terms of playing in any big games. I don't think there'll be any doubt in Flick's mind that it's Balde who would start any big games, of course. But what it might mean is we see a bit more of Gerard Martin in other games, in the games in between the big games. For example, possibly against Osasuna next weekend, between the two Benfica games. It could be a Gerard Martin game. Maybe he's earned it with his performance. Yeah,
Tony, here's an if my gran had bicycle wheels should be a bicycle question, slightly laced with a negative hypothetical. But if Balde were to get injured in training tomorrow, Barca's big games, who plays left back? Do you think Flick has enough trust in Gerard Martin to play him away at Benfica, for example, on Wednesday, or do you think he'd look to invent something else?
It's a good question. I don't know what to answer, to be honest. Yes, I'm not sure. I would say that he would go with Gerard Martin, no, because with his idea of being brave. If it's something quick in terms of not having margin, like Balde has fever on the last minute or something like this, yes. But if Balde is, for example, now out for 2 months, and then he has some days to think and prepare a plan, I don't rule out that he could build like Koundé as a left back, or Íñigo as a left back or something like this. So if he has margin enough, he would maybe prepare a plan. Otherwise, yes, he would go with Gerard Martín. Yes,
it's the fact they've got so many centre backs that, I mean, all could be worthy of playing, means that I think he probably would, if he had a bit longer, he would do something like that. Even to put Koundé there and Araújo could be right back, or Araújo at left back. I mean, I don't know if that would be good, but Íñigo Martínez another option. I don't know, or Eric Garcia even.
Yeah, I don't think there's any clear. I think he would go with Gerard Martin based on, I don't know. I guess it's one thing. At the start of the season, it felt like he was not sort of doing creations for the sake of sort of not playing players. When he went with Casadó and Bernal so early on in the season, etc. Now it seems like a good idea, but at the time it was a bit like, wow, he's gone straight with that rather than sort of creating something with more senior players. So I think he probably would go with Gerard Martin. But there's obviously that doubt that we're now in the business end of the season, and even though at the time an opener against Valencia, it felt like a big call. Obviously, a Champions League, potentially quarter-final away at Dortmund or whatnot would be an even bigger call to then stick Gerard Martin in. But he's certainly making a strong case to be allowed that chance if there was to be. And as I said, it's a complete. If Magran had why do I keep saying bicycles? Had wheels, should be a bicycle situation. But yeah, I mainly wanted to talk about Gerard Martin, just touching on him, because obviously we've not spoken about him a lot recently, and not a lot to really go into from the Real Sociedad game. Good minutes, I guess, for Dani Olmo as he continues his return from injury problems. And another goal for Robert Lewandowski, who's been quite a sort of divisive character. Maybe divisive isn't fair, but obviously, apart from his goals, there's a lot of, when he's missing chances, a debate about what he brings to the team. But just a shout for his tally this season, because he now has 34 goals in 37 games this season, which is his highest total in his 3 seasons at Barcelona. 33 and 49 in his first season, 26 in 49 last season. I mean, even 26 and 49 for a striker is a good tally, to be fair, which most strikers would sign for. I guess it's different when you're at a club like Barca or Real Madrid and you're the out-and-out number 9, you're expecting probably at least sort of 30. But 34 and 37 this season is fantastic. But Rick, there still does seem to be occasionally, and we've at times sort of pushed that debate as well when Barca have done well without him in Copa del Rey games and scored loads of goals. But ultimately he keeps delivering, doesn't he? Yeah,
can't argue with that statement. I feel like fundamentally, if in an ideal world you don't have a player in your team who more or less can only score goals, that's not ideal for a team that aspires to win a treble this season. I mean, Flick's he hasn't been saying that, but he's started to say, we're in 3 competitions, we're going to try and compete to win all of them, which, while not saying the word treble, is basically saying we're trying to win a treble. So
you're just trying to justify your clickbait headlines?
Well, I mean, they are trying to fight to win 3 trophies, which means they are trying to win a treble.
I saw on AFP, Hansi Flick, no one thought we could win the treble.
I think my headline was something like, no one expected us to be in treble fight or something, which is true.
Honestly, you expect it from sport, but not from AFP.
but ideally you don't have a player who can only score goals. I mean, yeah, his build-up play isn't abysmal, but it is often flawed. And Alexander Isak, for example, maybe he scores a few less goals, but I think he brings a lot more. And we've talked about him as a potential option or potential dream option for Barca next season. But yeah, I mean, for his age, for what he's got, and doing the best he can, Lewandowski has had a great season.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, and his goal against Real Sociedad as well. At first, it looked, because Barca's goals weren't the greatest goals against Real Sociedad. The first one was really nicely created from Lamine Yamal, beat a couple of Real Sociedad defenders. Lovely pass for Dani Olmo, who picked out Gerard Martin. The finish was a bit of a grubber. I'm sure Martin won't thank me for saying that, but it sort of bounced into the corner. The second goal is Dani Olmo's shot, which did deflect off Casadó. The third one, a rebound header for Araújo. And then the fourth one looked like another sort of deflection off Lewandowski, but he did sort of stick his foot out and really cleverly sort of divert it back across goals. So the instinctive finish you would expect from him. We do have some questions to get into carried over from last week's Q&A, but we're getting to them after the ratings. Tony, just before we go to the ratings, I don't know if you have anyone you want to highlight. You've already said there's not much to analyse from that Real Sociedad game, given how it went. Anything you want to say before we hear the ratings and close the chapter on Barcelona's 4-0 win over Real Sociedad?
No, the only thing I'm curious to find out is Hansi Flick said that Gavi was ready to play yesterday instead of Olmo, but then finally Olmo played. So if Olmo was going to be in the bench yesterday, it probably means that Olmo was going to be starter in Lisbon. So if Olmo was going to be starter in Lisbon, I don't know if right now he will be, because they are trying to take care, and I don't know if he's ready to play 3 games in 1 week, in 7 days being starter. I guess so, because he played well. So I don't know, if this can change the plan. I would say that the clues, if it's true, because I was also told that Gavi was not happy with not having played. I'm trying to find out why, but if it's true that maybe he was not feeling perfect, and maybe Flick told him to play in the second half, well, whatever it happened, I cannot imagine right now that Olmo is not a starter in Lisbon. But also, Frenkie de Jong was not starter. And to be honest, if I imagine a midfield of Frenkie de Jong, Pedri and Olmo, which is likely to happen because Casadó was the starter, I feel that it's a very offensive team, to go in Champions League. Pedri, Frenkie, and Olmo. So I'm curious to see what does Flick, what will Hansi Flick do regarding this, because for me it's difficult to see this treble.
Yeah, I mean we've discussed that a little bit, haven't we? About how if we pick Barca's best team in terms of the quality of player, their team ends up being crazily attacking, with Frenkie as the deepest midfielder, him and Pedri. It's leading to another potential, like the first game in Lisbon in the group was 5-4 to Barca, potentially leading to another crazy game.
Yeah, they're both in that. You kind of have that situation with Gavi and Olmo and De Jong and Casadó, and it's who partners Pedri. As Tony touched on, Flick said that Gavi was going to play against Real Sociedad, but he had fever. He was on the bench, he was warming up, but he didn't even come on. If he hadn't said fever, Gavi was actually going to be a talking point, because since he had that, and there could be a number of reasons, I don't think it's a big issue yet, but since he's had that concussion, his minutes have dipped when he's come back. I think he started 1 game since. There's been a game, he didn't come on last week against Atletico, was it, in the Copa? He came on for 23 minutes once before, so his minutes have been dipping, so it did seem strange that he didn't then play against Real Sociedad. So it'll be interesting to see what team Flick goes with. You would have thought away against Benfica, with it being the first leg, you don't go all out and risk sort of like a high-scoring game. And, you know, certainly maybe not Casadó and Gavi, but certainly one of them, because like you and Rick say, De Jong and... You kind of have the attacking options, which are De Jong and Olmo, and the more defensive options, which are Casadó and Gavi, and you can kind of build your midfield around that in terms of the demands of the game. So that's certainly going to be interesting on Wednesday in Lisbon. I think the rest of the team picks itself: Chesney, Koundé, Kubasi, Inigo Martinez, who rested against Real Sociedad. Kubasi also came off, and then Alejandro Balde also rested at left back. The front three picks itself: Lamine, Lewandowski and Rafinha. So yeah, it's just those questions really of who goes in there with Pedri, which I'm looking forward to find out on Wednesday. Rick, let's hear the ratings from Barcelona 4, Real Sociedad 0.
Yeah, I considered not giving Tech a rating because he actually had to do no saves. His decent footwork when he was required. I mean, 6 out of 10, but just because there was no job to do.
I've read today that in his interview with Barca 1 that Tech's a big meditator. And apparently, I don't know what he's doing in the dressing room. Apparently, Ter Stegen's son was in the dressing room one day and he was like, why is Tech asleep?
Wait, he could have meditated during this game. He had plenty of time to do it.
He absolutely could have meditated during this game, yeah.
Yeah.
8 clean sheets out 13 games.
Yeah, very nice. Good stats.
Just in case you forgot about this data, I'm here to remind you.
Is it 13 games? Is it 11 wins, 2 draws? Or no, 3 draws now.
3 draws, I think.
Getafe. Oh no, because he wasn't in goal against Getafe, was it? It's 2 draws because it was Atalanta and Atletico.
Yes.
And a third draw was against Getafe when Peña was in goal.
11 wins, 2 draws.
Koundé, 7 out of 10. Araújo, 9 out of 10. For me, probably maybe the best news of the game was Not so much his performance, because again, like everyone else, he didn't have that much to do at the back, but he did score a goal. He did get an assist for Lewandowski's goal. But actually, after the game, when he was speaking, a bit like when he was speaking to Tony in that interview, he was just kind of, he did seem quite content, and he didn't seem upset that he hadn't been getting a lot of minutes. And he was saying, I came back from a long-term injury, so he's happy to be taking it slowly at the moment, what he was saying. And also actually brings to mind Flick saying after the game, something we haven't heard anything more about, was that Flick said, Araújo was supposed to play 90 minutes, but actually he asked to come off. But it doesn't seem like there's been any news about any potential injury on that front, which is good. Kubasi, 6.5. Gerard Martín, 8. Casadó, 7.5. Lamine Yamal, 8 out of 10. He's on a run of not scoring goals, and it's something we've been speaking about. I think we need to talk too much about it today. But it was a good performance, and he created some good chances that weren't put away, actually. Dani Olmo, 8. He got a little bit lucky with the second assist, because that was a shot of his that was going off target before Casadó diverted it home, but the first one was very nice. Pedri, 8. Rafinha, 7. Lewandowski, 6.5. And then Eric, Frenkie, Ferran Torres. I gave them 7 off the bench. Maybe it's a little bit generous, seeing as the scoreline didn't increase once they were on the pitch, really. But they were, Barca didn't give up any chances to Real Sociedad. Not that they were the most ambitious with 10 men, of course, but if they came on and they maintained the score that Barca were very happy with.
Yeah. Okay, then let's work our way through some of those questions which we didn't get to last week.
Yeah, I've got them here. Brad said, Skyscraper Brad, with the focus on Lamine Yamal's rise to stardom, in his shadow are we watching the rise of a generational star in Pedri? How do we compare him historically with those of his position at his age? 22, he's 22 years old.
Historically, he's probably, and it's hard to say because obviously so much younger and didn't properly live it, so I'm more sort of going just of tales of obviously Xavi and Iniesta and how long it sort of took. Not that it took them loads, and obviously Xavi more than Iniesta, but he's probably ahead of them in terms of, at the age of 22, we're probably talking about him as the fulcrum of this team. Lamine Yamal perhaps takes more headlines, Rafinha at times, Pau Kubasi also sort of incredible for what he's doing, Olmo has sort of glimpses when he's fit, Lewandowski has the goals, but in terms of the most essential player to this Barca team, it's probably Pedri right now, and I don't think that was the case for Iniesta or Xavi at 22. Obviously, they're surrounded by players like Ronaldinho and later Messi and whatnot. And perhaps at the time that they were that age, we didn't quite have the focus on midfield that we do post them, perhaps thanks to them. And Pedri's form this season, as he stayed fit, he's just got better and better and better. I think we've spoken about it quite a few times on the podcast in recent weeks about, Tony's even mentioned about, if Barca go far in the Champions League, and if he sort of, sadly it still does come down to some of those key moments. I guess maybe it didn't so much for Rodri in terms of goals in the big games this year, but Pedri's right in the running for sort of, maybe he's not, but he should be right in the running almost for the Ballon d'Or, the way things are going. Obviously it all comes down to team trophies and those big moments, but I don't think there's been, and look, I can't speak for Italian football, the Bundesliga. I can speak perhaps a little bit for the Premier League and La Liga, and I've not seen a better midfielder. Obviously, complete sort of, not recency bias, but location bias in terms of what I've seen. I've not seen a better midfielder than Pedri this season. Yeah,
I've been looking at Pedri today, because actually that's one of the previews I was doing, was about Pedri.
And the restraining order finished?
One of the reason that he's not considered like Rafinha or Lamine Yamal, for example, and like you say, is because he's only got 5 goals and 6 assists all the other way around. So not great numbers in that regard, but his actual performances have deserved a lot more than that. And he's played more this season than in any other season other than his breakthrough season already, because of how injury hit the last 3 seasons have been since he had that season where he played 73 times for Barcelona and for Spain. And I think he's in the absolute form of his career at the moment. He was brilliant in that first season, but right now, for me, he's in his best shape that he's been in since he's came from Las Palmas. And yeah, I completely agree. He's ahead of any other of the sort of Barca legendary midfielders at the same age, at 22.
Yeah, it's funny. Obviously, when the dust is settled on the season, we'll have a better idea, but he's he's very, very close to being Barca's player of the season, despite the numbers that are being posted in the key contributions from other players.
Brad also asked about Casadó. What's changed with Casadó that he's lost his place in the starting 11? Surely it's not just Frenkie's form, is it?
No, Flick explain this. Go on, Tony.
No. I think that nothing changed, just that he's happy with Casadó, but for sure he still can improve a little bit. He's very useful player, but we cannot also say it's top player right now. And I think he knows how reliable is Casadó, but he needs to get on board also Frenkie with rhythm. So once Casadó is also ready, he needs also to give minutes to Frenkie de Jong. So because he was coming from a big period of not playing. So no, I don't think it's nothing concrete. He's just trying to give Frenkie some minutes in some games where he needs maybe better decisions with the ball or braver decisions with the ball. But I think it's nothing wrong. In fact, I'm willing to see who is going to be starter in Lisbon between Frenkie and Casadó.
Let's put this into context as well. I know there's expectations change, as we in the Q&A last week, as I spoke about. You can't have the same expectations at the start of the season as you do perhaps now. They have to evolve depending on what you've seen, what changes, injuries, form, etc. But just talking about Marc Casadó, if you'd have said to him last summer, when he was close to leaving Barcelona before Flick came in, he probably would have gone. If you'd have said, look, by March you'll have started 19 La Liga games, 7 Champions League games, your performance with Barca will have earned you a Spain call-up and caps for Spain, and you'll be sort of a regular rotation player in that final stage of the season. I mean, that would have obviously convinced him to stay. I think he was convinced to stay based on sort of less than that. He would have convinced to stay based on the idea that he was going to sort of be a backup midfielder, but someone who will get minutes. And he's far exceeded those expectations. Obviously, they have now changed because of the form that he showed. But the problem he also has is the outliers of like Lamine Yamal and Pau Cubarsí and what they're doing at the age of 17, Cubarsí now 18. But the fact that he only turned 21 in September, this is his first season as a 21-year-old, that's a young midfielder.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And I also think they are, like Xavi used to like to say, it's multifactorial. There's so many little things. Frenkie's form has been increasing. Casadó's form has been a little bit worse. I think that Frenkie offers a different role to Casadó in the same position, different role, different effect on the team. And I think it makes no sense for Flick not to take advantage of having both those potential things. And yeah, it's up to him to decide whether he wants to try and put Casadó in against Benfica in Lisbon and control things a little bit more than perhaps it would be if Frenkie was playing. But maybe they could take advantage of Benfica. They've got a couple of injuries and stuff at the moment. Maybe he thinks, we can put Frenkie and go and get goals in Lisbon. So yeah, interesting to see. Matt Rogers says, having so much of the squad healthy means fewer minutes for everyone. For the fans and the team, that seems optimal. But have you heard of any of the players being upset about their lack of playing time?
I haven't heard. Tony might know differently. It's kind of you do get sort of glimpses of players, like Tony mentioned Gavi earlier in the episode. There have been times perhaps when Lamine or Lewandowski have been unhappy to be subbed, for example. But I think in general, once you get to this stage of the season, you can kind of balance it a little bit better because all the players they know they're here till the summer. They know that the team's going well, that they're going to get minutes. They know, and obviously there are cases where perhaps it would explode, but I think there's a little bit more of a settled nature at most teams at this stage of the season. So I'm not aware of anyone that's particularly unhappy. And Flick does speak a lot, and I don't think Flick does. I know coaches say what they say to not give headlines and stuff away, but I don't think Flick says things which are not necessarily true. So, for example, he was asked on Sunday about, is this now the best midfield in the world, all these options you've got and the different sort of options. And the easy thing is to say, he was just like, I don't know if it is. All I can say is we've got a really sort of quality midfield. So he doesn't just give things away for the sake of it. But one thing he does sort of go on a lot about is the sort of the group that he's got and the sort of mentality and the attitude within the group and the positive nature of that. And I don't think he would go on about that so much if it wasn't true, sort of unprompted. So I think it's quite they're in quite a good position going into the final straight of the season.
Yeah, we've also hit the bit of the season where it doesn't matter so much. That if you're not playing so much, but because Barca are still alive in 3 competitions, you can be part of this glory, even if you just have 10 minutes. Even if you just need to come on to lock down a game with 5 minutes to go. I think that now we're at the point where it's not about, who's playing, who's not playing, so much as we're going to win trophies this season, or we can win trophies this season. So I think that even for the time being, even players like, for example, Araújo, who I mentioned earlier, was speaking after the game about not playing so many minutes, but in a positive way, that all players will just be pulling in the same direction now. Have either of you played the computer game Monkey Island?
Haven't played any computer games, no.
any computer games. No, there's someone's asking a question, and their username is Guybrush Threepwood, who's a character from Monkey Island. Fantastic computer game. Played it probably back in the early 2000s. He says, or they say, what is the long-term plan with Ansu? It seems like he's not even making the squad anymore. Is it just a matter of running his contract out?
I think, yes, it's a matter of waiting for his contract to finish and meanwhile trying to find a loan if he wants to live on loan. Better for sure a permanent transfer, but yes, it's about this, yes. No, there's no magic. This is like the case of Lenglet. Fortunately, the guy still can be in elite and wants to succeed and wants to play, and that can make things easier. But still, he's part of Barça, Lenglet. So it's the same with Ansu, no? If there are enough offers and at the same point he realizes that he needs to leave, he will leave on permanent. If he still wants to be here, maybe he will go on loan, but I think it's obvious he needs to leave next summer, and for sure I think he will leave. The question is, which percentage of his salary will Barça cover? Because I don't rule out that wherever he goes, Barça will be covering 60, 70 or 75%.
Yeah, he's got a contract till 2027, Ansu, so 2 more seasons. Colin P says, Camp Nou update, ? Is the Clásico in May still realistic?
No, they are going to play in Montjuic.
No Camp Nou this season.
No Camp Nou this season, no.
Probably for the best. Get it done nicely for next season. And finally, Mo says, do you think we missed out on Bergvall? He seems like he's killing it at Spurs.
Does look alright at Spurs. The problem Barca have now, and this sort of applies to sort of players coming through from the academy as well, I guess they could still use a deeper midfielder, but not really. Where does Bergvall come into the team when you've got Pedri, Gavi, Olmo, Firmino? It's going to be hard for him to get minutes as sort of like that sort of style midfielder at Barcelona. I don't rule out that in 3 years we're going, Barca should have... Well, they did obviously try to sign him. We're saying what a player he would have been, etc. But I can understand why he made the decision he made and why Barca perhaps weren't able to offer certain assurances when they were signing Olmo and, like I said, the other names that they've got. But yeah, it looks like a talent.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of him. In fact, I don't know if Mo wrote it or I've just copied the question and put an I in it. But yeah, Bergvall, not Bergvall. Bergvall sounds like more of an Italian player than a Swedish player. That is all for today.
Yeah, that's all we've got time for today. We'll be back after the Benfica game. If you enjoyed the questions, we drop a Q&A every couple of weeks on the Patreon, where Patreons ask questions. And you can also get access to the Discord, where we're chatting most of the week about things that are going on. I think the main talking point this week has been about Neymar, whether his return would be a good thing, a bad thing, in all manner of ways. It's a debate that's probably going to circle around until the summer, even if, as Tony said on last week's Q&A, it would be an absolute disaster, just because it brings in the clicks, doesn't it, for people, I think. But
and in the meantime, we don't talk about Burnley this week, no?
They lost the FA Cup.
Yeah, the game against Preston.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing. I would rather win the FA Cup than get promoted. Is that controversial or not? Or is that just like a normal opinion?
Seems normal to me.
Well, it's just a stupid opinion because it's impossible.
Well, it's impossible when you make 11 changes in the. Well, it wasn't quite. I don't think it was 11 changes. I think it was 9 or 10. Changed the whole team for the cup game.
But I think it's better. It's better, no? Then you have a better calendar, not that full of games. Right now, it's better.
Well, it's not like you're going through and playing loads of games. It's just one more game. Because the FA Cup would have been 3 more games maximum. We're probably not going to get to the final, aren't we? So if we play Preston and beat Preston with our full team, we're then in the quarter-final.
Yeah.
It's only...
Who have Preston got? Villa? Is it Villa in the next round?
Villa at Deepdale.
You would have gone out anyway, so...
Villa at home? We could have beaten... If we'd have put our full team out, we could have beaten Villa at home.
It's a good...
At home in an FA Cup quarter-final.
It's a good response, Tony.
As they're progressing in the Champions League and sort of fighting for get back in the Champions League next season, who knows what sort of team they'd have come to Burnley with. So yeah, I was disappointed with the way they approached the game on Saturday.
Good response from Tony that I'm going to remember for next time Sam comes up with something like that. It's a stupid question because it's impossible.
No, but winning the FA Cup, it's impossible for sure.
Have you seen what teams are left in there? We could beat any of those teams. If we'd have played our full team, we'd definitely have won the FA Cup.
Vale.
And that is being eternally positive. So yeah, Barça Benfica Wednesday, stay positive. Adios.